لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك الملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك الملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك الملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك. محمد نبينا بنور هدينا محمد نبينا بنور هدينا.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NAHCON) has approved more than 50 additional licensed tour operators to carry out Hajj and Umrah activities. The approval was secured after the companies had fulfilled requirements laid down by the Commission. Head of Licensing at NAHCON, Halidu Shuti, shed more light.
They have passed through due diligence. The guidelines, the requirements, and everything put in place by the Commission, all conditions precedent to the granting of Umrah license, they have fulfilled these conditions. That's why the chairman of the Commission approved the release of their Umrah license. And by implication, they have the authority, they have the mandate to conduct Umrah activities, both in Nigeria and in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He
said, list of the approved tour companies will be updated on the Commission's website and national dailies for the public to know those to register with.
The management, the chairman of the Commission has directed, should be monthly. Every month, this list has to be updated. One, to guide members of the public who may want to perform Umrah, for them to know the list of the accredited companies for Umrah. Two, to put the activities of touts and illegal tour operators at bay.
NAHCON is still processing more applications from other tour companies for approval. The Saudi government has expressed satisfaction with the operations of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NAHCON). The Saudi Arabian Minister for Hajj and Umrah, Dr. Mohammed Saleh bin Tahir Benton, stated this in Makkah shortly after the signing of the 2019 Memorandum of Understanding between Nigeria and Saudi Arabia.
He talked about this. I think the Nigerian delegation are doing a very good job in servicing the Nigerian Hajjis. They are available everywhere, whenever airports, housing, Makkah, Medina, and Mashah. Thank you very much.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NAHCON) advises those traveling for the Umrah or Lesser Hajj not to carry any prohibited items in their luggage. Such items include drugs, kola nuts, gaseous or explosive materials, knife or sharp objects, cash above the limit allowed. Any luggage containing these prohibited items might put the pilgrims in trouble. NAHCON also warns Umrah pilgrims not to allow anybody to carry or check in luggage on their behalf at airports, either in Nigeria or Saudi Arabia. Doing so is dangerous, as these prohibited items could be put in your luggage, thereby implicating you. Remember, all luggage are subjected to customs check at airports. Wishing you a successful Umrah.
Preparations for the 2019 Hajj exercise are ongoing across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. While these are being carried out, some officials of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria and stakeholders rounded off the first round of pre-Hajj visit to Saudi Arabia. The visit featured discussions between Nigeria and Saudi Arabia, leading to the signing of Memorandum of Understandings (MOUs) on services to be rendered to Nigerian pilgrims in the course of the 2019 Hajj. Nigeria's former Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Khadija Bukar Abba Ibrahim, signed the MOU on behalf of the country, while the Saudi Arabian Minister for Hajj and Umrah, Dr. Mohammed Saleh bin Tahir bin Tan, signed for the kingdom.
The signing of the memoranda between their own institutions and our institutions is to entail, actually, to ensure that we have appreciated our respective requirements, our respective rules and regulations, our respective capacities and what have you, and then we have acknowledged them and we are incorporating them or taking them into consideration for the purpose of Hajj. For instance, now they will tell you we have made such and such arrangements that are different from what used to be the case last year. So you have to take note of it, and you have to acknowledge having taken note of it, and then you have to acknowledge that having taken note of it, we are actually going to work in line with expectations of our mutually understood positions.
So that agreement signed was one. I give you for instance, the 95,000 pilgrims allocated to Nigeria. We signed the agreement between the Saudi and the Nigerian National Hajj Commission, in the sense that Nigeria will bring in 95,000 pilgrims. This is one of the agreements.
Other personalities of Nigeria's delegation to Saudi Arabia were NAHCON Chairman Barrister Abdullahi Mukhtar Muhammad, Nigeria's Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Ambassador Isa Dodo, and Consul General, Ambassador Yunusa Muhammad. There were also stakeholders from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, National Assembly, State Pilgrims Welfare Boards, licensed tour operators, and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, among others.
All of us have different and complementary relationships and duties, if I may say. For instance, of course, you know, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation is our supervisory office that oversees the activities of the Commission, and that it is in line with the activities that they oversee that one or two from time to time goes to see what is happening. The National Assembly, as you know, goes to discharge its functions of oversight and respect of its duties to the whole nation, and especially to the electorate. And we have representatives of states. The states are those ones that are actually preparing, managing and discharging responsibilities to the pilgrims themselves. They need to know what they need to know so that they prepare in good time. The tour operators or the licensed tour operators are in complementary and similar position to that of the states.
The Nigerian delegation also met with service providers such as General Car Syndicate, Adilla, and Muassasa, among others.
Basically, the security challenge that we observed last year, that it has increased. Maybe some people take advantage of the courtesy and the kindness of people of Medina by now moving their bad habits to Medina, particularly those who goes into private accommodation to steal their valuables. This is a matter of serious concern, of course, to the host government and of course to us. We hope we'll work together to find a way of addressing this matter.
NAHCON Chairman Barrister Abdullahi Mukhtar Muhammad led the discussion with the Car Syndicate. It centered on the transportation of Nigerian pilgrims and the cost implications.
We'll go back to the Ministry of Hajj. Certainly, it will be difficult for us to accept any increase on the cost of transportation. So, of course, we did not discuss it because the matter was not raised by the Ministry. 2 years ago, when the Ministry raised the matter, we discussed it with them. But we are under the impression, based on our discussion with the ministry, that almost everything status quo remains.
This one is providing the transportation in Saudi Arabia between Jeddah, Mecca, Medina, Mecca, or Mecca, Jeddah, or Mecca, Medina, or Medina, Mecca, or Mecca, Mushair. Mushair is Mina, Arafat, and Muzdalifah. We signed that agreement.
The pre-Hajj visit was not just about the signing of the different MOUs. It also provided stakeholders with the opportunity to further make preparations on services such as accommodation for Nigerian pilgrims. At a meeting with the Saudi Deputy Minister of Hajj, Dr. Husseini Ibn Nasser al-Sharif, bilateral issues on Hajj and Umrah were discussed, and the focus was on the demands made by Nigeria. These include Nigeria's demand for a waiver of the 2,000 Saudi riyals charged on pilgrims repeating the Hajj within a period of 5 years. Nigeria's request for visa issuance process to be made less cumbersome. Nigeria's participation in the newly introduced arrangement tagged Mecca Road Project. Nigeria also wants Saudi General Authority of Civil Aviation, GACA, to regard NAHCON as a guarantor for air carriers so that allocation of slots and flight schedules can be fast-tracked for the convenience of Nigerian pilgrims.
We also had meetings with Saudi Civil Aviation authorities. We sat down and looked at the operations of last year, and we now collectively know and have addressed the challenges, and with the hope that our subsequent Hajj operations will be smoother, more efficient, and more productive.
The Saudi government has over the years cultivated the practice of reviewing Hajj activities in order to come up with new policies for effective Hajj management. Through the pre-Hajj visit, Nigeria takes note of new developments and have them reflected in NAHCON's Hajj plans.
This time around, they have introduced a new system that 90% of our pilgrims would depart back to Nigeria from Jeddah, while 10% would depart from Medina. That's Prince Mohammed bin Abdulaziz International Airport. We have never had this before, but this time around, this year, they have introduced it. T19, we will have what we call grouping of pilgrims. That's for, before we have grouping of pilgrims for Jamrat. So this time around, the grouping of the pilgrims, for not only for Jamrat, it will now go for Awaful Qudum and Awaful Ifada. These two Awafs, that is after from the Arfa, you come to Muzdalifah. From Muzdalifah, you move straight to Jamrat and throw your pebbles. So this time around, after throwing the pebbles, Nigeria may go maybe 12 noon. Unlike before, where as soon as you throw, you just move to Mecca, go and do your Dawaful Qudum. So this time around, they are going to group us.
The pre-Hajj visit is in 2 phases. The first phase has just been concluded. Second phase is expected to come up before or after Ramadan.
Well, this is the first of the 2 traditional visits that we normally make to Saudi Arabia with regards to Hajj, and that this is the planning stage, and there is going to be a subsequent trip to Saudi Arabia, inshallah, and that one is the stage of consolidation. That is to say, we now know the parameters and the expected projections of 2019 Hajj, if you like. But by the time we now know our registration pilgrims that intend to go, and we look at our own positions here and our level of preparedness, we now go back and consolidate with them. At that time, we will be better placed to talk about more or less the actual pilgrims, number of pilgrims that are expected to go to Hajj, and then we now go to the extent of signing of actual contracts of provision of accommodation and catering, and then we can also tell the civil aviation authorities how many pilgrims are expected to land, the number of airlines that are conveying them, and what it is. So you can look at this one as a preparatory visit, and then the other one, of course, as a consolidation visit, if you like.
In addition to this, representatives from NAHCON ICT and Inspectorate divisions will visit the kingdom for their respective assignments.
Our representative from the ICT will go there and see how the newly introduced things that will be done on the e-track. And we have another one, the inspection of accommodation and feeding. The inspection, the essence of this thing is to confirm, we are no longer operating these briefcase agents. The houses, are they did they meet the standards that they laid down by the National Hajj Commission? So we will have a team that will go and inspect them in Mecca as well as Medina. Medina, we have the accommodation, as you know, is within Markaziyah. But all the same, we have to inspect these houses again. Why? Because maybe there are some changes. For instance, I give you, the standard we laid down is that 4 to 5 people in one room. And maybe before the inspection, they may put the 4 beds for you. So while the inspection is ongoing, we must make sure that they have, they complied with the rules.
The effort of Nigeria towards ensuring successful Hajj has elicited commendation from Saudi government.
The Saudi authorities have recognized that we are among the reliable, performing, and dedicated, and of course proactively progressing. Then they have accorded us this recognition that has reflected in early invitation to come and start preparing for Hajj, as was done last year. In fact, last year and this year, Nigeria has been invited within the first 3 or 5 countries for this occasion of memorandum of signing of memorandum of the oncoming Hajj.
The milestone achieved during the first round of the pre-Hajj visit is expected to enhance and speed up plans for 2019 Hajj.
الله ربنا هو الإله له من الأسماء ما اصطفاه الواحد الحي كذا المليك.
Welcome to the quiz segment. Our question last week was, in which month of the Islamic calendar does Hajj take place? The correct answer is Dhul Hijjah, the 12th month of the Islamic calendar. The winner of last week's quiz is Yusuf Babayu Umar of number 11 Patrick Bakor Street, Jabi, Abuja. His answer came in first ahead of others. Yusuf Babayu will be contacted on how NAHCON will get his prize across to him. For this week, the question is, name the 3 types of Hajj we have in Islam. I repeat, name the 3 types of Hajj we have in Islam. Text your answer to the number showing on your screen. The winner will be the first person whose correct answer is received. All answers should carry name and location of sender. Good luck and happy viewing.
الله ربنا هو الإله
شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك الملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك.
Assuming ihram or wearing the white piece of cloth and declaring intention is one of the pillars of Umrah and Hajj. In which place are pilgrims expected to assume ihram? What are the do's and don'ts of the ihram?
Ihram simply denotes intention.
Sheikh Halil Qadir Maraya provides answers to these and other questions. He begins by explaining the position of ihram in the course of the Hajj or Umrah.
Ihram simply denotes intention, and it is an obligation as far as the conduct of the pilgrimage and also the lesser pilgrimage is concerned.
When declaring intention, it is recommended for pilgrims to take ritual bath, cut their nails and hair, among others.
It's not an obligation, but it is something that is highly recommendable. It is a sunnah. if one enters the state of ihram without conducting the ritual bath, their intention or their ihram is acceptable.
When assuming the ihram, must it be at the miqat?
Going into the state of ihram as it affects position is divided into three. You can enter the state of ihram before miqat. You can enter the state of ihram at miqat, which is the most preferable of the three. You can enter the state of ihram after miqat, but with a caveat. Once that is done, no one can say that your intention has not been accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you have entered into the state of ihram after passing miqat. But there must be an expiation. One must sacrifice an animal for doing that.
What type of cloth is allowed for men and for women to wear?
Intending male pilgrims are expected to use 2 garments, preferably white. One loin and one to use to cover their body. Only 2. But intending female pilgrims can use any form of dress, provided the dress is not very gorgeous. You understand, they are permitted to do that. Yeah, but once it is very, very gorgeous, then recommendably they are expected not to use it.
While in ihram, it is forbidden for men to wear socks, glove, or to cover their heads. It is also not allowed for men and women to cover their faces, have sexual intercourse with their spouses, or kiss, among others.
Trimming the fingernail. Once one has entered the state of ihram, they are no longer allowed to trim their fingernail. They are no longer allowed to use any sort of perfume. They are also not allowed in the state of ihram to trim their armpit. They are also not allowed to shave or barb their hair.
What happened when pilgrims violate these rules of ihram unintended?
For instance, Mr. A has entered the state of ihram. Subsequently, he began to trim their fingernail because he has forgotten. He has forgotten that he is now in a state of ihram. A fellow intending pilgrim now reminded him, why are you trimming your finger? Oh, subhanallah. He has now remembered that he is now in the state of ihram. Such an intending pilgrim has been forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No atonement, no expiation is expected from him. But somebody who does it intentionally, you understand, they are expected to expiate what they have done against the rule. And what they are expected to do is as follows. He has been given option to do any of the 3. 1, to fast for 3 days. 2, if he is not willing to fast for 3 days, then he can feed 6 needies. Thirdly, he can equally sacrifice an animal, at least a goat.
Performing Umrah or Hajj without ihram renders it invalid.
الله ربنا هو الإله له من الأسماء ما اصطفاه الواحد الحي كذا المليك.
What is the NAHCON in particular doing about enlightening the pilgrims on how to perform Hajj? Because this is something that may need the contribution of the ulamas.
There are so many strategies put in place by the Commission. Among them, vigorous public enlightenment programs, facilitating workshops together with the state officials, production of Hajj manual, pamphlets, etc., etc., running radio programs, especially for the villagers, those in the rural area where the bulk of pilgrims reside. Also running NTA television programs, such as You Answer the Call, and many other programs.
إن الحمد والنعمة لك الملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة